We're planting broad beans and shallots today on pots and trowels, which is brought to you with the support of Mr Fothergill's Darlac and Cobra Garden. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels, and we're in the new temporary vegetable garden this week. This is where we're going to be growing all the vegetable this year, and it's quite a biggish plot, as you can see, so plenty of room for us. And I said we were going to be sowing and planting and making a start today, which we are, but I've had to modify the plan slightly because since last week the weather has completely turned. It was lovely and warm a week ago, and now we've got this Arctic blast coming from the north, which is exactly that direction. We've had sleet, we've had snow, frosty nights, and as a result I don't think the soil is warm enough to do lots of sowing of the vegetables that I want to put in. So I'm going to hold back for another week, but we can still do something, don't worry. If you're never sure if the soil is warm enough, it's worth getting a soil thermometer, and that's a really easy way, because if the soil is too cold, seeds just won't germinate, and if they're in the soil for too long, there's a chance they'll rot off. So it's worth waiting that little bit longer. And I've got a soil thermometer in here, and if I just pull that out of the ground, we can see that it's barely 10 degrees. It's actually between 8 and 9 degrees on there, which is just a little bit too cool for lots of seeds. I like it to be at least 10 degrees before we sow. So I'm going to leave it for another week, but fear not, there are some things we can do. And if you remember, a while ago, we started off some shallots, just bulbs that we put into these 12 packs. They've been in the cold greenhouse since we did them about a month or so ago, maybe 5 weeks ago. And for the last week, even though it's been really cold and frosty, these have been outside in a sheltered place just to harden them off and acclimatise them to being outside. What you must never do is take any plant from warm conditions and bring them out to the cold. It's so bad for them, it gives them a check in growth, could even kill them. But these are tough anyway, these will withstand the frost. So we can plant the shallots. I'm going to put a row along here. So what I've done is prepared the ground, raked it over, and I'm using my planting board here to put them out. And I'm going to plant these about 9 inches apart. So my board is in sections of 3 inches, which makes it really easy, simple to make. If you want to make a planting board like this, it's just a bit of 3 by 1, and then what I've done is literally just used a saw or a router to mark the divisions, and you can do it in whatever you want to, but I like to work in 3 inches, which makes it easier when I'm planting out. So I'm going to space those out along the row like that, and as you can see, these have got a lovely healthy root system there, so these are going to get a really good start and grow away quite quickly. So every 9 inches, you could plant them a little bit closer if space is in a premium, you haven't got too much space spare, then 6 inches would be absolutely fine. So another one in there, and it's just a case of working along the row, planting them so that the bulb is just about below surface level there. So just hold in there, hold it in position, firm them in. It's important that we give them a slight firm. If we leave them too loose, the soil will dry out around the roots and they'll rock around. So that just anchors them into place, means that the roots are in contact with moist soil. Now, although the surface of the soil here is drying out because of this cold wind that we've had, there's plenty of moisture underneath. So I probably won't water these in. I might give them a few days, and if I think they're drying out a little bit, then I will certainly give them a drink then. But I think for the time being, they're going to be absolutely fine, and they will soon start to grow. So all I do now is plant some broad beans that I've got ready in another plot over there. As summer vegetables go, broad beans are probably one of the toughest. They'll stand several degrees of frost, so they're going to be fine to plant out today. It's cold, despite the sunshine, I can assure you it is fairly cold today. So these are the plants, lovely, lovely stocky plants. Just like the shallots, these have been fully hardened off, so they're not soft, they're not lush, they're used to being cold. grown in these 12 packs, and this is a variety, if you remember, called Robin Hood. It's a dwarf variety, so it doesn't need any support, any staking. It only goes to about 12-14 inches tall, but has delicious pods on there. So these are going to be planted here in a double row. So I need to do a little bit of ground preparation first. It's been prepared roughly, but I'm just going to put a little bit of fertilizer on. These are organic poultry pellets, high in nitrogen, which is good for all the peas and beans. So it's just a case of sprinkling a little bit onto the surface where we're going to plant them, just as a bit of a base dressing, just to get them started. And then I'm just using a rake just to lightly rake that fertilizer into the surface, only about an inch or so deep. It'll get mixed in a little bit more when we plant, but it just means it's not going to be lying on the surface like that. So we'll just go down there. So it's really simple. It's just nice to have an even planting surface, and I'm using a string line here instead of my planting board. Little tip, if you're using a string line, always make sure that it's tight. If it's not tight, it bends out the way easily where you want it to spring back into position, and do it so that the string is at soil level. I've seen it where people put a string line in this high above, and it's again difficult to get a straight line. So it's just a case of popping these out and then spreading them out. Now I'm not using a measure, I'm just guessing here. I'm going to put them roughly 6 inches apart, 15 centimeters, something like that. And it's exactly the same. I'm just going to use the trowel and just make a hole and put them in. So they're in roughly the same level they were growing in. Firm them in again so that we aren't too soft around the roots. Nice firming, and they are amazing little plants. If you haven't sown them yet, don't worry, there is still time to sow broad beans. Too early for all the other beans, the French beans and the runner beans, but broad beans, you can sow them. You could put the seed in directly into the soil now. Now what I want to do here is I want to have a double row with these. So instead of moving my string line, I'm just going to guess it doesn't matter. So in between every one, I'm going to put another bean. So that will give me a nice broad row of broad beans. And obviously I'm going to go all the way down. So roughly 6 inches apart again, and in between. So there is a staggered row, just like that. Take any marks out, it just makes it look neat and tidy as you go along. Your hand makes a brilliant rake for this job. Now I'm going to give these a drink, because although there is moisture there below, these are quite leafy, and if they get a bit of breeze on, these will dry out faster than the shallots. So I'm just going to give them a drink of water just to settle them in like that, and that will soak down, keep them nice and turgid. It'll stop them wilting, settle the roots, and they will grow away. Even though it's cold, this bit of sunshine will mean they'll grow away, and they'll soon start to put some lovely growth on, and we can look forward to delicious broad beans end of June into July. So even though it's too cold to sow most of your seeds, I'd hold back certainly with things like beetroot and carrots and spinach, all those lovely vegetables. Wait another week or so till the soil warms up a little bit, but if you've got bean plants and shallots, get them in to get that vegetable garden started. Well, thank you for watching, and thank you for all the likes and shares, and for telling all your friends about us. The more people we get watching, the better it is for everybody. Let's get a real good gardening community going. Next week, I'm going to be planting a spring container with lots of colour, so we'll see you then. Bye.